Family First is bringing you conservative conversations, commentary and content. And now you can access these important discussions in the format that you prefer. Watch, read, listen. You can watch our content on our website, familyfirst.nz. Simply click on the Watch tab and you'll see all our various programs that you can view. You can also watch these across our social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. Everywhere. If you'd prefer to listen while you go about your daily activities or are traveling in a vehicle, then click on the Listen tab and the latest content is there for you to listen to. You can also find us on Spotify under Family First NZ. And if you prefer to read our commentary, then click on the Read tab. We're increasing the frequency of our written commentary, focusing on the latest research and analysing the current news events which are relevant to families and society. We provide the insight and context which you won't get from the mainstream media. We're also now adding the full scripts of Family Matters and McBlog under the video link in our website, and also written summaries on our live stream shows so that you can read and digest the material at your own pace. Consume our conservative conversations in the way that best suits you. Watch, read, listen. Go to familyfirst.nz and join the conversation.
Hello, New Zealand. It's Monday morning and it's the 18th of August, start of a new week. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's check out some news that you need to be aware of. Welcome to Daybreak. Yep, 18th of August, Monday, and just less than 2 weeks to go before the forum on the family. So a bit more information about that. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to, get those alerts so you know exactly when we come on air. Although if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or what else are we on? Substack. X, we're all over the place, so you can't avoid us. Right, let's check out some of the news, and this is some that you may not have heard of. I want you to be aware of your little catch up. I was interested to see this one. This was just over the weekend. It was announced on Friday. It's kind of one of those announcements that sort of goes under the radar. The media have checked out for the week. But there's this proposed ban on protesting outside homes. We haven't seen it too much in New Zealand. Like I think, we've seen a couple of protests outside Luxon's house, I think, but it hasn't been too common. Maybe outside John Key's house as well. Was there one or two outside Jacinda's? I can't remember. But basically, they say, well, there's a right to freedom of expression, but there's also a right to privacy. Actually, I think good law. I think whoever you're protesting about, do it at their place of work. But totally different when it's outside their personal home, because then you get family members involved and also children can be involved as well. So that is probably a good decision. The big story last week, of course, was a decision by Jacinda and Chris Hipkins and Grant Robertson and Aisha Verrill, the coveteers, as I call them, the four coveteers, not to appear before the committee. This was a poll that was on Stuff, and what was it, 65% said that they should, so basically 2-1. There was a poll done by Courier Market Research, so would be more scientific, although it was a quick one, only 500 respondents, so a bit of a margin of error, and they found 53% of respondents said that they should appear, and 28% agreed with their decision that they didn't need to. So once again, 2-1, but just a lot more were unsure in that particular group. And yeah, a majority of National, ACT, New Zealand First and Te Pāti Māori, interestingly, disagreed with the decision. Although, like I say, a bit of a margin of error on that one. Chris Hipkins did appear on News Talk ZB trying to argue away why he wasn't appearing in public. Have a listen just to a little bit of this clip. I mean, it was a train wreck of an interview.
Well, at the moment, it's been Denton's.
So this is legal
the company,
advice.
you mean?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Okay. So they advised you not to appear, or you advised them that you wouldn't be appearing?
Well, see, again, you're mischaracterising it. I said I was very happy
It was an open question.
Commission.
No, appearing publicly. Just for future reference, for the rest of the questions in this interview, I'm referring to you appearing publicly, right? So was it Denton's who advised you not to appear publicly, or did you advise them?
Well, the thing is, you're misrepresenting my position, Mike. I have appeared before the Commission.
You've not appeared publicly before the Commission.
Well, I have answered all of the Commission's
I'm not saying
questions.
that. I've said you have not appeared publicly before the Commission. Did they advise you not to appear publicly?
Yeah, and he can't actually answer that question, and that's the problem, the perception. Here's a clip of Boris Johnson appearing publicly before the committee at the end of last year. So he was able to do it, but for some reason, Ardern, Hipkins and Robertson and Verrill can't, and they don't seem to be winning any friends through that decision. Here's one for you. This wouldn't have been reported on the 6 o'clock news. Ex-Washington Post fact-checker Ken Kessler conceded that he was completely wrong to label the COVID-19 lab leak theory doubtful in 2020. They put out a fact check, and they said, was the new coronavirus actually released from a Wuhan lab? It's doubtful. And he defended the work done on the piece by fact checker, but blamed himself for the backlash for adding the words "it's doubtful" to the headline. I remember back in those days where if you said that, and even when Trump said it, but if you said it on social media, you'd immediately get banned or blocked for a period of time. And the fact checkers, of course, weren't fact checking. They were making up their own rules as they went. Nice of them to admit it now. Anyway, 5 years down the track. This story, a transgender athlete, he wants to play handball with the females at the Olympics. And he's scared that, anti-trans sentiment's going to get in his way. Here's a little photo. See if you can figure out which one he is as he plays against the woman. I mean, really, we should change this heading to "He fears his bid to become an Olympic handball representative will be dashed by biology and common sense." Common sense doesn't seem to be in Australia. And Kirrily Smith. Now, let's be careful of this article. It's written by ABC News, which is like Radio New Zealand. So it's left-wing propaganda, state-funded radio. And that's why you've got the heading anti-transgender activist Kirrily Smith. Basically, Kirrily Smith is a mum who doesn't think that dudes should be playing against girls in football teams, soccer teams. So she has advocated on that, and the transgender people got a little bit upset about this, hurt her feelings, and said that what she was saying was highly intimidatory, objectively harassing, and unnecessarily cruel on her tweets. Now, ABC in this news article says Kirrily Smith heads anti-trans organisation Binary Australia. Well, it's not anti-trans, it's pro-biology. It's binary, where's male or female. And she was previously the director of anti-marriage equality group Marriage Alliance. In other words, she believes marriage is one man, one woman. Yes, ABC are totally shocked by this particular Kirrily Smith. Here's just some coverage of it. Yeah, you can probably figure out who the dudes are in those pictures, can't you? Yeah. But here's the exciting thing. Kirrily Smith responded with this tweet. She said, let me just enlarge it. "I lost the appeal and I am still under a 2-year apprehension of violence order for identifying a male in a female soccer team. I've never named him, met him, or asked others to target him, but I guess if they can redefine the word woman, why wouldn't they redefine the word violence? This is simply an attempt to stop my advocacy. I won't stop. Men cannot be women. Men do not belong in women's sports. Only men get upset and take women like me and Sal Grover to court for saying no to them. That's that tickle giggle case." And she's down the bottom there. She says, "I'm off to New Zealand now and I'm going to have a fantastic time." She is off to New Zealand. and she's speaking at our conference.
Hi, I'm Kiralee Smith from binary.org.au, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you at Forum on the Family in 2025. I'll give you an update on all my legal cases. I've been in court 8 times for identifying males in female sports. We've written a book documenting the accounts of 9 families, one from New Zealand, who have been totally and utterly destroyed by gender ideology. And I'll give you an update on upcoming campaigns.
So there we are, going to be at the Forum on the Family. That's an even better reason to register. So forumonthefamily.nz registrations close this coming Sunday. So you've got 6 days to register. Don't muck around. Not often I agree with Chloe Schwarbrick, but Chloe has finally seen the light and is joining the pro-life movement. Yes, fighting for the human rights of the unborn child. In Parliament last week, she said this.
Human rights should not be conditional. We don't get human rights because somebody else decides that we are worthy, but we get them because we are human.
Yep.
The best way to lose your own human rights is to care about them only when it impacts and affects you.
Amen, Chloe. So there we go. Human rights should not be conditional. You don't get it just because somebody else decides we are worthy. So I'm sending an invite to Chloe Schwarbrick to come on the next March for Life and join the pro-life movement. It's fantastic. Yeah, I'm not sure she knows exactly. This is the problem with the logic of the left. It doesn't, it's not consistent. And that's where they get themselves all in sorts of trouble. Trump, Putin. I mean, was it a success? We're going to discuss it on Straight Talk tonight. I'm interested to ask the panel about it. But what amazes me is how many media, including our own media here in New Zealand, knew whether it was a failure or not. I mean, they haven't seen the minutes. They weren't in the meeting. They don't actually know the outcome, but they've concluded that it didn't achieve anything. Yeah. Wow, they're so wise. I don't know how they managed to do it. But one thing they haven't reported recently is this story that Islamic extremists and radicalized herder militias have killed over 7,000 Christians within the first 220 days of 2025, according to a new report. That means, and also, as well as the 7,000 Christians killed, 7,800 others have been violently seized and abducted for being Christians. This is in Nigeria. And so that's an average of 30 Christians per day, more than 1 per hour, and tens of thousands of Nigerian Christians have been killed in the last decade. Have you seen that reported on our mainstream media? Once again, when the Greens march for that, let them tell me, because I will join them for that, but we may not. Interestingly, just on that Gaza issue, this is another report that you won't have heard, is that over 200 Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and secular organizations and NGOs from more than 15 countries have called on the United Nations and international communities to collaborate with the US-funded Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GFH, and demand an investigation of the UN relief agency in Gaza. Basically they're sick of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation being delegitimized just because it's run by Israel and the US. And it's distributed over 120 million meals. But the problem with the UN one is that it's part of UNRWA, the Relief and Works Agency. And of course, there's been accusations that some of those workers in the UN group were part of the October the 7th terrorist attack when they came into Israel. So signatories include the Christian Jewish Alliance, Israel Christian Nexus, and the American Muslim and Multi-Faith Women Empowerment Council. Once again, that's a side of the debate that you won't hear in our legacy media because I don't want to hear that side. What else have we got? Interesting story in the Australian over the weekend. A Finnish doctor. Finland was a little bit like Sweden with transing the kids. Went strong on it, started giving kids chemicalization, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. They thought they were doing good for the kids, but then the evidence started coming in. And there's this interesting article with this Finnish doctor. I won't even attempt to say her name. You could probably figure out why. Kautiala, is it? Dr. Kautiala. And basically, let me just read this quote. It says, Kautiala says that they decided some of the patients would be given, this is in the mid-2010s, so about 2014, 15. They decided some of the patients would be given sex hormones and puberty blockers, but the results were not what they expected from the literature or from her talks with other clinics following the Dutch model. And the Dutch model is to push kids down the chemicalization, puberty blockers, and then castration of healthy body parts model. She says the problem was further complicated by growing demand for gender treatment as cases of perceived dysphoria grew in Finland. And she said, we found that unlike what we expected, many of the adolescents who were prescribed this hormone treatment did not thrive. We did not see the improvements as suggested in the literature. At the same time, the number of referrals was skyrocketing. There was public pressure. It was a great contradiction between the clinical reality and the public and political discussion around it. And she says, that many doctors are afraid to speak up now, but she is speaking up. She's speaking at a conference in Adelaide in October and throwing some light on this whole issue. And we need brave doctors like that. And that's why we're interviewing Dr. Miriam Grossman at our conference next week on this exact issue. Interesting story out of the UK says that the number of internet users accessing pornographic websites in the UK fell by nearly half in the first 2 weeks after they started age verification. That's about 1.2 million viewers. And that's because the law came into effect that said that the platforms had to, major porn out websites had to provide, you have to provide proof of age. Can be ID, credit card information. They even say that you can prove your age by a selfie, which is screened by facial recognition technology, which is interesting. And other prominent websites have also had a drop in traffic. Now, that may sound totally success story. However, they also acknowledge that some people are attempting to bypass this age verification by utilizing a virtual private network, a VPN, to get around the restrictions. So it's not fail-proof, but it is an interesting trend around this whole age verification. And I was fascinated about the whole AI use of facial recognition and figuring out how old you are, which sounds a little bit insulting, doesn't it? And looking at the wrinkles. And just one other story that I saw at the weekend. This was in the New Zealand Herald, and it was a New Zealand Herald reporter talking about the fact that her father was a donor, a sperm donor, and she found out she was donor conceived. And basically, it's an article about how she wanted to find out about her genetic origin. She wanted to meet her biological dad. And fortunately, she was able to because the father had made an effort. It says, just as fertility associates began the process of trying to track down my biological dad, my donor updated his information. So that was just fortunate that the donor actually updated the information. And so she was able to find the information. Interestingly, the reporter, she said, I've never been religious, but it made me consider that there really could be a higher power. Just the fact that she was able to, there was that, he updated the information just as she was looking for it. And so she was able to meet her biological dad. And that is the problem with surrogacy, is that often the donor, the sperm donor, doesn't want to have any involvement in the life. And so for many kids, it's my daddy's name is donor, and they never get to meet their biological heritage, and yet they want to. All right, now very important, you need to register for the forum. It's coming up at the end of next week, and the registrations close on Sunday. We have got an amazing lineup of speakers, and so we really want you to register forumonthefamily.nz, and you need to register by Sunday. So get in. Places are filling up fast. Now, I have got a really neat thing that Gordon, my staffer, has just put on. Let's see if it works. And let's just check out. Oh, look at that. Comments. Ha! There we are. We're getting technical, aren't we? Ian says the four coveteers are not true leaders. That's true. Simply Green talks about those transgender sports people who sued Kirrily Smith and says taxpayers funded their legal fees. Oh no, actually, Simply Green, you're talking about Jacinda Ardern and Chris Hipkins and all that. Yes, the legal fees for the legal advice which were given to Robertson, Ardern, Hipkins, and Verrill. Guess who paid for their lawyer? It was the taxpayer. So yes, that is salt in the wounds. Regarding the transgender who want to play in the women's sports, Rabbit Hole says, well, they can play. They just need to play in the men's team. And Catherine says, I'm so sick of it being anti-trans. It's pro our women and girls, which is exactly right. And Michael says biological dads are important to children. Exactly right, Mike. And yeah, I think that's the. All right, that's it. That's the topics. That was exciting, wasn't it? I can actually get your comments up on the screen. So that's a new thing to add. Just means that I have to be a little bit more organised and a bit more technical. Anyway, we are out of time. Have a great Monday. We'll see you Wednesday morning. Straight Talk tonight at 8 o'clock. And Simon will be here tomorrow morning with Solid Ground as well. Have a great day.